got something else going in the background here. There we go. Sorry about that. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators, friends, foes, and family alike. It is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024, and we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into three specifically and maybe four different psyops and give people some things to compare notes on to what they already know and to empower them and to kind of warn some people about what kind of traps we might be walking into, this being such a pivotal year in human history. So we're going to take a look at exactly what psyops are, what we call psyops, psychological operations, typically reserved for soldiers, military use, expert communication skills, and unconventional tactics to support U.S. Army objectives. Now, that is not to imply, although many will, do, and could, that same definition of what we're going to be digging into to the U.S. military. I am not making any allegations in this regard. I have to make that clear, that disclaimer first and foremost. This is me sorting through the noise to find, read between some of the lines on some of the news that's actually happening out there and covering some stuff that you will not hear or find anywhere else. So it's critical times, guys. They are absolutely choking this platform off with every capacity within their means. We are 100% dependent on your support, your engagement, your participation. That's really what this boils down to, is participation. This is a team effort per se. We depend on you guys getting the message out. I'll do the work and sort through the noise, but we need you to help get it out, and we need also to collectively find ways to support independent media, the people that are doing the bulk of the heavy lifting of exposing the truth. I know that there's going to be some folks here from Facebook. We've been trying to reach out to Facebook folks and get them over here to Rumble. Make sure that you have hit the follow button over here. I'm not going to unfollow myself, and make sure you smash that bell, guys, so that you guys get notified. Even Rumble is dropping the ball on a lot of stuff, but they have, so far, we've been able to get all of our streams up onto Rumble. And then the next day, we bring all of the video, all of the whatever we used in the video shows up here on Substack. I better turn that off, with links to other places you can find us, and we can reassemble our communities outside of the reach of the Stasi. And all of the documents, you can download all of the papers. Everything that we cover in one of our shows is over there on Rumble. And I just wanted to pull up X as well, just so that you guys can recognize the platform, what you're looking for. If you're not following on X, we've been able to stream freely on X, although still some shady shit going on there with my viewer count and reach when it comes to some stuff. But that's neither here nor there right now. The fact is, this is where people can find us. We are reassembling there, and we talk about a couple of these different alternatives every night, just to give people an idea that there's other platforms that we can use. We are not trapped in these platforms that are designed to facilitate psyops, psychological operations. Now, I've got a video clip here that I've got pulled up that is 20 minutes. We're not going to go through 20 minutes of this, but this is going to kind of set up what we're going to be diving into here tonight. So, guys, I really appreciate you helping share this out, especially lately. The last 6 weeks, it's been Hail Mary after Hail Mary, getting every last bit of information out that we can. We're going to be covering tonight 3 or 4 different psyops. We're going to be introducing you guys to some legitimate controlled opposition. We're going to piss a lot of people off. We're going to piss off the Conservative Party of Canada. Not that I want to be right about any of this, but the biggest absurdity and crime to me is the controlling narratives from both sides of the fence that have absolutely no real benefit or interest in what you, the people, need, want, and what will actually protect you and serve this country and our futures. They're all blowing smoke with all of that. So I'm going to play you guys just a minute or 2 minutes here of this video from the Machiavellians. I don't know this platform, but I do understand Orwell. So here we go.
Imagine waking up in a world where words no longer mean what they appear to. A place where language, the very tool we use to communicate and understand reality, is twisted to obscure truth and manipulate thoughts. This unsettling scenario is not a dystopian fiction, but a reality shaped by doublespeak, a deliberate distortion of language to deceive and control. In this video, we will examine the insidious power of doublespeak, exploring how skilled manipulators use doublespeak to alter our perception of reality, making lies seem truthful and murder respectable. The dystopian nightmare of George Orwell's work 1984 may be closer upon us than we realize. Doublespeak should not be confused with doublethink. Doublethink is a term from George Orwell's 1984 novel. Doublethink is a process of indoctrination in which subjects are expected to simultaneously accept two conflicting beliefs as true, often at odds with their own memory or sense of reality. Doublespeak, on the other hand, is language that seems benign and informative, but is actually specifically designed to confuse the listener or distort our perception of reality. Doublespeak is language that may try to make something immoral or negative appear good and acceptable, or at least not as bad as it seems. William Lutz defines doublespeak as follows. Doublespeak is language that pretends to communicate but really doesn't. It is language that makes the bad seem good, the negative appear positive, the unpleasant appear attractive or at least tolerable. Furthermore, doublespeak is language that avoids or shifts responsibility, language that is at variance with its real or purported meaning. It is language which seems to communicate with listeners but deceives them. It is language which appears to describe a reality but actually distorts it. According to William Lutz, doublespeak is language that conceals or prevents thought. Rather than extending thought, doublespeak limits it.
Doublespeak is language designed to evade responsibility, make the unpleasant appear pleasant, the unattractive appear attractive. Basically, it's language that pretends to communicate but really doesn't. It is language designed to mislead while pretending not to.
Lutz says
That's kind of where I wanted to start with this and dissect a little bit of that. I think everybody can relate to those terms, and this video actually goes really nicely into depth as far as for bringing different different explanations. And I'm going to pull this up here. This is just a still shot of another thing that they really dissect well in this video about the difference about euphemisms, jargon, gobbledygook, inflated language. I was going to create a slide out of this, but I'll make sure that I've got a screen capture of this in the Substack tomorrow, guys. These are meant to make you second guess, doubt your logic, doubt your thinking, doubt everything that you know inherently inside. These are some of the methodologies that they use with what they call the propaganda machine, programming, tell a vision, tell a lie. All of these things are all part and parcel, and these are to give you guys some of the correct articulation, the way to best describe this. Now, when we get into now what some of the psyops that are underway right now, most of us can relate that and apply that filter and lens of understanding between psyop and what we just looked at here with all of these. We saw examples of all of these and the beer bug, right? And the the bird bug before that, and the monkey bug, and every bug that they wanted us to believe in, every other psyop. We know of many, even here in Canada. The wolves in Nova Scotia, they've been predators on an innocent and naive society for a very long time, and this is perpetuating. And now there's three distinct psyops that are underway right now. There is political, a, in national, at a deeper level. Some of these psyops. This is one of the things that I wanted people to think about for a second. Is there's all different levels of psyops, investment, commitments to them, intent, design. Some of them are short operations. Some of them are multi-generational. We're going to look at a couple of points, a couple of events that are happening right now, present day, that I think every one of us needs to be aware of as to falling into these categories of being psyops. And we're going to start with the medical one first, and we're going to hear from Dr. Peter McCullough. A couple of days ago, we had a short, I don't know what it was, 30 seconds or a minute video with Dr. McCullough, playing with his chickens, telling us, from his perspective as being one of the top scientists and medical experts in the world on the subject matters. Oh, where did that go? There it is. Cannot let that get away. That it's okay. We're seeing warnings about buzzards and birds and this magical illness that we are starting to see jacking up. And this is going to lead into a couple of points, guys, and I'm going to give you guys early warning, advance warning of one of the words that they are going to be using to leverage you and twist you into being the bad guys. And I don't want anybody to fall into this trap. So let's hear first from Dr. McCullough.
Anytime a biopharmaceutical product remains on the market despite excess mortality and mounting evidence suggesting greater and greater deaths are accumulating with each and every day that the COVID-19 vaccines are left on the market, that does qualify as mass negligent homicide for all of those who are responsible for manufacturing the vaccines, distributing them, administering them, and then promoting them. Each and every person that ever encouraged, pressured, coerced, or threatened reprisal for one of these COVID-19 vaccines is complicit in a crime against humanity, and that crime is mass negligent homicide.
Now, to me, that little video is incredibly profound, because in 2021, when this platform was the first one brave enough to interview people like Dr. McCullough and Dr. Bridle and Dr. Alexander and all of the doctors since, it's like the royalty list of people that have been fighting for us to protect us from this monstrosity of pharmakia for a couple of years. And it was Dr. McCullough was on my show when we were addressing this fact exactly in 2021. And we both swore then that we would not rest. I am no judge. I am no jury, but I am good at sniffing out baloney. And here's the thing. Forgive and forget? No. I do not have Alzheimer's, and I'm definitely not Jesus. So I am not going to forgive or forget. I do not take the Lord's name in vain. That is who I am. My role in this is I will not rest until these people have been delivered to the justice system, and I will sit gratefully in the gallery watching the prosecutions take place. That was public information. People can go back and document that. Now, this kind of leads me into a couple of the psyops, and whether you follow Dr. McCullough or not, I know there's controversy about people squabbling about different things, his recommendations as far as for treatment. None of that is my concern. That's not what I want to talk about. But his testimony, his expertise is what we need to understand in this fight and in the insanity that is coming up next. And this is something that I really had some in-depth conversations with a couple of dear friends, including Michelle, who really understood what I wanted to dig out of this. We've got another Psyop coming. We know it. It's feeble, but it's coming. But the part that scares me about it is, just like last election, this is their go-to playbook manual. They are starting to label us differently. And there's reason for that. They are not just labeling us hesitant anymore. They're labeling us hostile. Hostile demands a very different reaction than what hesitant does. Keeping in mind the desperate control measures that they evoked upon us once before under fraud and extortion and the suffering and persecution. To quote a term that I heard the other day on a broadcast, these disingenuous persecuting bastards have been still to this day persecuting people over this. How dare you resist? They're coming at us again with another one. And if they deem us dangerous because we are hostile, they are manufacturing in their own delusional, fear-rattled brains. The hive will seek to remove you from being dangerous. So this is going to become a tool that they will leverage beyond censorship to the point of removing you from the public space, from your home, whatever they deem as the next fear mechanism is. If you're opposed to it and we don't justify why we might feel hostile. Now, here's the thing, guys. I ran this poll only because I saw a Mockingbird mainstream mercenary use this term to set up a character assassination. So this is what they're doing. They're deeming you hostile if you don't agree with their response measures. So now we both have a very different understanding of why people would genuinely, rightfully, and should be allowed to be hostile towards these intrusions of these chemical bioweapons. So I think it's critical. I'm going to run this poll again to some controversy. Some people found it provocative. I think it's necessary because if we don't explain our position, we may not get a chance to in the future. So I'm going to run this poll again on X, and I want people to please engage, not to put yourself in danger with any stories, but I want you to explain in the best rational terms why you might consider yourself vax hostile. I know there is all kinds of righteous justification for choosing that. But if we don't explain that ahead of time, they will use that word against us. So we need to explain our feelings, how we would consider ourselves, why we describe ourselves with this perspective and outlook. If this isn't just because people aren't hostile to this for no reason. They're not hostile to this because of misinformation, malinformation, disinformation. People are hostile to this because they have been victims of the propaganda and the abuse that Dr. McCullough and I discussed going back as far as 2021, but now is becoming a real thing. There is people that are moving towards justice and accountability in all of this. And what we have to realize is this is where the psyop comes in this. We are in a year of global elections. We've heard the United Nations in Davos saying that they must rebuild trust and silence people like me, dissenting opinion. What those anybody they don't that doesn't agree with their opinion. So this is the misinformation, and they are pre-bunking is part of the solution. So these are ongoing initiatives for them to seed the public the Overton window of discussion. So this is why when they're using terms like already pre-labeling us as hostile and dangerous, while they're just beginning to amp up uh, their next major event. And if anybody doesn't believe that they're beginning to amp up the next event, this is just a random search on Google. I've done it on other platforms. This here, 4 hours, 6 days, 2 days, 5 days, 1 day, 1 week. For the last week, this is on page 3, guys. I went through 3 pages. Coming back a little bit closer to today, it's chock full of the mainstream media mercenaries starting the assassination of the truth and setting us up for that next psyop, which we know in an election year is necessary to maintain the deception and the illusion of control. And they will do so by labeling us as hostile and dangerous to the state. But this is where Dr. McCullough has a little bit more, something more to say on the matter. All right, let's see if I can find this here. I have a whole bunch lined up for you guys here today. All right, this is the one I'm looking for. All right, let's hear what a couple of more points. This is only 33 seconds, and I think I've got another one that's about a minute, 2 minutes from you. And this is important that you guys get these links so that you guys from Substack tomorrow, because you guys are going to need this information to disseminate, not disseminate, but to defend yourselves against the psyop that's coming.
We haven't had a single death in the United States in a person from bird flu. It's probably been around for over 100 years, as indicated in a review by Lysette and colleagues. The current strain of bird flu is not much of a threat to animals. We don't see large number of migratory water birds dead. We haven't seen large numbers of poultry or cattle that have actually died of the disease. So we need to stop intentionally culling or killing healthy animals, which is being promoted by agriculture directors. We need to stop mass PCR testing of the animals by government officials. That doesn't need to happen. We haven't.
So when he's talking about the culling, I'll come back to this and we'll actually pause and I'll kind of read a couple of these headlines here. Where disaster declaration for Weld County, disaster emergency there. Cambodia, 1.8 million chickens culled in Colorado, Oakland County Fair, bird flu concerns. I mean, you just scroll through here. Number of affected herds to 26. Guys, if you guys have birds, protect them. If you guys have a side gig selling eggs, you might not want to broadcast that. If you have chickens, keep those eggs. You can live on eggs. There is a reason they're going to war with birds and eggs. Guys, this is one of those things that is absolutely happening. And Odessa did a piece on it a couple of days ago. I'm only just gonna play just a minute of this for everybody here, but you guys can.
I'm Odessa Orlowitz. Today is going to be an audio only show. It's June 28th, and I thought people might want to know about this International Bird Flu Summit happening fairly soon, October 2nd and 3rd and 4th in Washington, D.C. thank you to the gentleman that sent this to me. Healthcare worker was given this invite, and they are doing a bird flu summit, and it looks like an event 201 to me. Mass fatality management planning and much, much more. Fatality management, morgue operations. There's a place where they talk about how they're going to deal with uprisings of human beings. Okay, let's just take a look around at this summit. Develop and maintain plans, procedures, programs, and systems. Develop and implement training and exercise programs. Direct fatality management, tactical operations. Activate fatality management operations. Conduct morgue operations. There's ways that you can pay for this. I looked around and it looks like it's a pay to play with some of the things that they said. The next part is continuity of operations and continuity of government planning. Strategies for operating with 50% or more dealing with successive waves of pandemic outbreaks, mitigating disruptions to essential functions of public and private sectors, implementing essential service continuity plans, ensuring continuity of government functions. They do get to the vaccines. Business continuity planning, resource allocation for employee and customer protection, insurance coverage for business risks during a pandemic, ensuring safe travel policies, decision-making for reducing or closing operations, implementing remote work policies and flexible schedules, emergency management services, prioritizing antivirals and personal protective equipment for essential workforce, overcoming reduced response capacity and staffing issues, protecting emergency response operations centers, managing supply chain interruptions and establishing stockpiles, handling panic, and maintaining public order. I don't think the panic is going to be that people are freaking out, that they're going to, pass away from this thing. I think what they mean is handling mass uprisings when people are in shock that they're actually trying to pull this off again. This to me literally looks like an event 201. There are others that are happening. This is not the only summit. I'm told there's others. I was given a link to another one, but we're just going to concentrate on this one. What's interesting about this is I'm having Dr. Jessica Rose on my show tomorrow.
So I'm going to let everybody watch the rest of that a little bit later on. This is Dr. Ray. I'm not sure who this person is, who posted a bunch of links on this. They're right. Odessa is correct. And this boils down to one of the reasons why they're going after the birds is because of this. I'll let Dr. McCullough explain.
I suppose I'm sitting here listening to you talk, thinking, and I can't stop thinking, are we just going back to the future? Are we just going to make the same mistake all over again globally? Are we seriously going to head down this path? I mean, it's almost unbelievable to me as I listen to you talk about every single step that you've just mentioned. We just went through with the COVID-19 vaccinations, and we are literally repeating history, and not even 2 years down the track or 2.5 years down the track.
Well, this is actually our third. So we've had SARS-CoV-2, the virus, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Then it was monkeypox.
Oh,
the World Health Organization declared a global monkeypox emergency in the United States, called a countrywide and public health emergency. Monkeypox vaccines were purchased for everybody to take them. And we quickly got ahead of this in the news cycle and said, no, this is not spreading the way people think. It's by a gay and bisexual spread. Previous smallpox vaccines were protective. We had a drug called tecovirimat in order to treat it. Now we're ahead on bird flu, saying, listen, the current strain is mild. We can use dilute iodine nasal sprays and gargles to treat it. Oral drugs, even IV antivirals, antibiotics if needed. We don't need human vaccination. And I predict, like monkeypox, which was a giant flop, by the way.
I think they had a branding problem with that one, frankly. I think there was just too many too many funny memes coming out and too much poking fun at the name. I think their branding was just all wrong on that disease.
Well, listen, listen, you're right. Monkeypox was a ridiculous brand name for a disease and a vaccine campaign, but bird flu is no better. And, you know, when I talk to my patients, I ask them, are you going to line up for our bird flu vaccine? You know, I don't have any takers. No one's interested in a bird flu vaccine that's not a threat to humans.
And that's the crux of it. So they know they can't terrify us into subjecting our bodies to more of the experiments. And they are still, you know, pot committed into their conquest of the planet through the methodology that they've got. And all they've got is wash, rinse, repeat. I wanted to bring up, before we get too far away from that one, I want to bring up this other one here that just for everybody to go and take a peek at. This is the International Bird Flu Summit. So I'll have this in the Substack as tomorrow as well. But this is exactly a wash, rinse, repeat of Event 201, lining up the next Psyop that they plan on. You know, if they can't get us jabbed anymore, starvation works. I mean, it's worked for every other fascist regime in history as well. When they don't get the compliance, they get the starvation. So these are things we've been talking about, trying to warn people of since 2020. 2019, actually, you guys can probably see the 5th anniversary. We've been at this a while. But the next story is kind of also in part because of the hard work of Dr. McCullough and ultimately Lee Turner, who represented Dr. Hoff in British Columbia, and they've defeated judicial notice. And what does that mean? Well, almost any attempt to seek justice or remedy was dismissed based on judicial notice. The judge says the sky is blue, we don't have to argue about it. When it comes to the beer bug, whatever I'm told is undeniable and inarguable, you don't get to fight your case in court. So they've struck down now the judicial notice in the courts. The challenge with that is going to be is people will probably have to. I couldn't even begin to guess how many cases were filed and were dismissed under judicial notice. But and I'm not sure what the process is, but it's my basic assumption that they're going to have to refile again if they want to fight those again, which is so taxing, so draining, and you know, they've been extracting our ability to fight back for a long time. So part of how this entire situation was foisted upon us was, remember the hockey stick? Hey, we've got to flatten the curve. All of the models that initially they didn't tell us really what they were about, but then kind of came out that they were kind of made up by information that Fauci got from a 6th grader, et cetera, and plugged into AI. I found this. Chris Vleck over at TFM Report posed a question to me last weekend, and it was kind of in a philosophical context, but it's had me thinking, you know, who actually does control the world? Because if we change the whole world based on AI models for the beer bug, what happens when they start applying that same technology to the next crisis that these psychophants and clone troopers and Borg clone troopers are 100% committed to they're who's coming up with the data? Their science and actual real world reality seems to have no input to these people. So here's the next big thing, right? How AI is helping us tackle the climate crisis. So you have to wonder, is this where the dream up the DEI models, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, the ESG, environment, social, and governance? Is this all accumulated and created by ChatGTP, for example? Although these guys are saying it's kind of expensive here in this article, what really I found profound was that AI can unlock significant decarbonization opportunities in my own sector, the built environment, what exists right now. We can help enable the shift away from polluting materials such as concrete, reduce the carbon impact of energy and transport systems, and support the reuse and repurposing existing buildings. We need to keep improving the efficiency of AI development and ensure that it is developed safely and responsibly, but as important as harnessing AI to help accelerate the green transition. So every time I look at something that these eco-terrorists masquerading as climate activists amongst the captured establishment of our countries, I have to wonder, are they regurgitating their own actual beliefs, or are they regurgitating AI programming? So, does that another psyop? All of it? Are we actually being led by AI? Well, according to Fortune magazine, and this is just yesterday, AI is effectively useless, and it's created a fake until you make it bubble that could end in disaster, veteran market watcher warns. Now, I don't think that this is kind of any surprise to us that they've had this fake it till you make it. Literally, that's the whole premise of the whole media, or not media, but the whole avatar universe, the whole matrix, this whole influencer, social media, success, the illusion, the make, if you build it, they will come, you'll be rich. All of these things in AI will only ever be the sum of the programming that it gets. That's why Elon wants so much, why he bought Twitter, to get social feedback, real feedback, or what he was hoping would be real feedback, engagement between people, so that he would have a more accurate base of information to program the AI from all diverse perspectives and opinions. But when it's built in an echo chamber with no diversity of input, it's only got one direction, to keep turning left. And they have continued to use these models that are only stuck on left to generate climate proposal governance, medical governments, bioweapons, and everything diabolical and scary in between. These guys are using AI for. So are our meat muppets under not just control of hostile foreign entities, but also AI? Inquiring minds will want to know, right? So that's the AI question of the day that rattles my brain. It actually mortifies me. I literally have dreams of Terminator when I watch battlefield footage from the body cams of soldiers on the front line in the far east in Ukraine. People really don't understand the evolution of static warfare. It is very, very different than what any of us could have imagined or experienced, even going back to the last conflict that we can relate to in the Middle East. Static underground warfare is very, very different. And we don't want none of that. I promise you, we don't want none of that. And we do seem to have put ourselves in a very precarious position over here in North America under the either ineptitude, which I don't really buy because there's far too much of it to be coincidental. So I have to assume that when we follow the money and we follow the patterns, we get to a point where we have to assume that this is a manufactured destruction of all of our nations and destabilization. I mean, we know all of this, but the good news is just because we know, we're not the only ones fighting back, and we're not the only ones resisting. And this is a pretty damning expose from somebody who is rapidly becoming larger than life in Europe, as people look for somebody that can, be an adult in the room. The insanity has to end before meat muppets like Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau and Francois Macron and their other new globalist puppet in the UK. It doesn't matter what you call them or what their names are, because they are all cookie cutter, interchangeable disciples of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, doing nothing but spouting the programming laid into them by people none other than George Soros. Now, George Soros and our own Christopher Freeland have a deep relationship, like deep to the level of George Soros funding her elite European education in Kiev and Rome and Paris, where she still holds properties. But George Soros is one of the usual suspects, right? And we're entering the season of the sacrificial political lambs, and the globalists are quite willing to sacrifice some of their own so that they can get to safer ground. And this is why we are seeing this allowance, this tolerance of discussion starting to hit the mainstream. Wide Awake Media found this clip. Kudos to them for doing so. Viktor Orban is becoming quite controversial for actually representing his people. Isn't that bizarre? He's actually doing what his people want. I think kind of like a democracy, but now he's dangerous. But this is what he had to say about George Soros.
2015, September 26th. And he published a plan. He said that I'm quoting, here are the 6 components of my comprehensive plan. I just quote 2 or 3 points of that. First is, he said very clearly, 2015, that, quoting again, EU has to accept at least 1 million asylum seekers annually. That was the first point. Second, he said, adequate financing is critical. And he proposed to issue long-term euro bonds for financing the migration crisis and the migrants' social and welfare taking care when they arrive to the European Union. And another point which is very important for Hungary, which is involving the territory of Hungary directly into this program, he said that, quoting them, safe channels must be established for asylum seekers, starting with getting them from Greece and Italy to their destination countries, which means to bring them to Greece, to Hungary, and then have them to go to Austria. So don't forget that what we are speaking about is not an accidental stories, not a bulk of 10 years of accidental stories. It's a plan which is going on. It was written, it was published, it's known. So we are fighting again an organized gang called Empire of George Soros, NGOs, who are just supporting everybody who is transgressing our legal system and our regulation, and financing illegal activity against our nation. So this is why the story is not just about migration, but it's about how this European Union is working and how George Soros was able to captive the main positions inside many institutions of European Union, buying out MPs and other leaders, and in order to execute the plan which is written, and it's against all the Christian and nation-based political forces. It's against us. It's about how to change Europe and how to eliminate and push aside all the Christian, conservative, national.
100% on point. 100%. He's absolutely nailed it. Now, a couple of points that I wanted to make here on Viktor Orban. He became the EU pariah when he actually held a referendum in his country, and they voted 76% against, or pardon me, 76% of Hungary voted to keep the children away from the gender manipulation garbage until they were 18. Protecting the children. 76% of the country voted to protect the children. He implemented the law as per request and has been underneath the absolute persecution, as quoted earlier, the disingenuous persecuting bastards ever since. And it has led him to leading now the Patriot Alliance, which is absolutely exploding. Now, just in the news today, interesting point, Georgia, another country that has rejected the globalism. They passed a law banning foreign-funded NGOs and lobbyists from lobbying their government. So no more foreign billionaire money pounding their government to implement garbage and nonsense. Immediate EU pariah, where they are now being threatened by the European Union. And Ukraine representative actually says, well, we'll take Hungary's place if you guys kick them out. It's just absolutely absurd. These shenanigans going on, and how it's being so misrepresented here by our own legacy media and every other media. Well, this is going to be a jam-packed Substack tomorrow, guys. Absolutely. Thanks, Steve, for helping us share this out. I don't know where you're plugged in, but when you turn up to share this out, we get good views. And Substack is where all this stuff will be at. Tomorrow morning sometime it will be out, but people don't want to talk about the real bad guys. It was brought up to me, there's an event happening, and we're going to tackle that here real quick. But this is in reference to the American-made missiles that landed on Russian beaches, killing kids last week. The Russian government has not responded to this event, but people over here don't want to talk about that. Who's making the weapons that are actually killing the kids? And it's becoming a question that has to be had. It is becoming undeniable. This is a clip that is incredibly important, and it's going to set up what I believe are a couple more psyops by the military-industrial complex. This is the beginning of what we'll discuss in a couple of minutes. It's only 17 seconds, folks, but the audio isn't great. This has been slow motioned down, but we'll talk about it in a second. See that, guys? Couple major points. Anybody that's following the conflict on the ground, the actual day-by-day events, will know that Russia does not strike civilian cities and infrastructure during the daylight. Russia does not do that. They have no pattern in history of striking urban centers in the daylight. However, Ukraine has multiple times done this since 2014, and Maidan sacrificed their own people to establish a political narrative, right? And in this case here, they're looking at the hospital allegedly struck by Putin in Russia. And every mainstream rag has been running with the false lie, the false truth, saying that Putin struck a civilian hospital, killing a bunch of kids. Follow-up reports are suggesting that the missile that we saw there didn't actually even hit the full hospital. It struck nearby. And it's American made, guys. It's been identified. They know exactly where it comes from, who bought it, who built it. US made missile did that. Damn it. Why? Why? We're going to talk a little bit more about why every meat muppet that's sold out to the agenda is jumping on board that. And Mr. Trudeau, of course, this happens the day before he needs to have a photo op and pretend to the world with the same gobbledygook and the same language that we looked at earlier. We know nobody's going to see anything but this out of Trudeau when he is at NATO, where they're absolutely squishing Canada for not actually paying any of the bills that Lord Farquaad has promised money to NATO. He hasn't been paying those bills. We're on the edge of getting dumped out of NATO, which isn't a bad thing. But at the end of the day, it's all built on lies, more lies, more lies, more lies. But he's there. Zelensky is coming. They're going to give Zelensky billions more of your dollars and pretend like they have a reason to do this now, because they're saying that Putin, evil Putin, struck a children's hospital, and now Canada's going to have to get serious about taking your money to fight back on that. And this is unfortunately in Canada where we're going to get into a little bit more, a deeper layer of the onion of the Psyop. And I'm going to introduce you to somebody that's going to make me incredibly controversial, and people are going to be awful pissed off because they really actually like this guy. But as we discovered last night when we looked at the list of conservative politicians who sold us out in 2017, unfortunately, this guy's name comes up. His name is Garnet Genius. I would suggest that he's genius in name only. Let's hear what the Conservative Party, how the Conservative Party is responding to this. I've called out, as you can see here, Mr. Genius, about drinking the Mockingbird mercenary media. He's supposed to be smarter than that. I actually even couldn't leave that alone. Even I made a comment even below that, guys, where telling him he's blowing it, becoming a parrot to the Mockingbird media is a fast way to lose trust and his seat these days. So when I see people doing this kind of stuff, what is not just dangerous, but it's immoral or unethical, I will make it my purpose, my cause in life, to end their ability to mislead people to dangerous detriment. So he's blaming this. I've showed him the video, sent the video to him, despite his signing the Paris Accords possibly being construed as an act of treason. Let's hear what he's got to say about what happened at the Children's Hospital. And I'll probably interrupt a couple times because this guy really triggered me now.
Friends, the world is becoming increasingly unstable.
Yep.
As I've said before, we are in a new Cold War.
A new Cold War? Hell no, dude. Wake up. It's a hot war if you hadn't noticed.
Tensions continue to sharpen between the democratic and the authoritarian world. And today we had another stark reminder of what this conflict is all about. Today, Russia blasted the largest children's hospital in Kyiv. And
false, lie, propaganda, propping up the lie, escalating the tension, the fear, and the lie. Unacceptable, Garnet.
Rain missiles down on other cities across Ukraine. Akhmedit is a major hospital which provides cancer treatment, among many other services. So I've seen images and videos of children doing their chemotherapy, literally then being moved onto the street in Kyiv. One of the
so much fear porn, pity porn, escalating, throwing gas on what is already a ridiculous situation. Sorry, Carly, I don't really care what ethnic origin or faith that he has. Wrong is wrong. I fight for the truth. And when lies and deception cost lives, this clown, if he isn't absolutely ignorant to the 10th degree, which I do not believe that he is actually, just wait. Oh, just wait. It gets better.
The missiles ripped through the dialysis ward. Many young children were killed in this horrific attack. And this is what we've known for years, that the Putin regime is intentionally terrorizing civilians. They're going after kids, they're terrorizing their parents, they're doing it right before.
He's stunted and stuck in the Cold War Russia bad. The problem that I have with this guy is he is going to be a part of Pierre Poilievre's wonderful new government to replace Trudeau, and everybody loves him because he's conservative and he's had some good fights. He's stepped in it with me.
For the NATO summit in Washington, and they're doing it while chairing the UN Security Council. Meanwhile, in occupied territories,
they needed a pity party to justify stealing more money, so they bombed their own damn people. That's what they did, Garnet. Wake up.
They are literally stealing Ukrainian children from their parents and forcibly giving them to Russian families.
Exactly,
So
Ali. Babies and incubators all over again.
And this occupation to end. It will only end when the Ukrainian people can decisively beat back these horrific acts of merciless aggression and decisively secure their territory.
There is not a snowball's hope in Hades that the Ukraine forces can stop anything that's happening to them. It is so beyond over, it's unimaginable. And the entire Western media is taking part in the Psyop because, just wait, there's more. It gets better. There is still money to be made in Canada. He wants a piece of it.
Friends, here in Canada, Liberals have sadly failed to deliver on their promises in a timely way when it comes to supporting Ukraine. They fail to consistently apply sanctions against those responsible for these horrible crimes. And they fail to see the opportunity to undercut the Russian economy by displacing Russian energy exports.
He doesn't want to undercut the Russian economy. He wants to undercut the American industrial military complex. Just wait. I got the goods.
On multiple occasions, they've granted big, glaring exemptions to sanctions. Russian titanium, for example, is now subject to liberal sanctions relief, and it's being used in the senseless murder of Ukrainian civilians. Conservatives have, and we will continue, to call on the government of Canada to rescind their sanctions exemptions.
The titanium is for the Airbus airplane manufacturing company. Imagine that. Trudeau's buddy's still getting to make airplanes with Russian titanium, and this guy wants to take that moral hill to stand on to justify what his brainchild idea is. Oh, this gets gooder and gooder, Mr. Not So Genius.
We need consistent application and enforcement of sanctions. We've also called on them to support the swift passage of my private member's bill, Bill C.
Bada bing, bada bing, bada bing. Houston, we have the winner.
388. Bill C-388 is an act to fast-track energy and mining projects and to facilitate the provision of munitions to Ukraine and develop its munitions industry.
Okay, well, what's Bill 388? Let's take a quick look, guys. Oh, an act, exactly as you said, to fast-track energy and mining projects and to facilitate the provision of munitions to Ukraine and develop its munitions industry. Then he wants to make money off of he wants to build our mining infrastructure off the backs of killing Ukrainians and Russians based on lies. Mr. Genius, not so dang genius, if you ask me. But this is already in first reading, guys. So This war in Ukraine is a nonpartisan issue. So we've got the Uniparty is probably going to get behind this and agree to start opening up mining here in Canada and selling it to you as, hey, we're making jobs for you in Canada. Don't worry about what you're digging out of the ground. It's only going to go over there and kill, a few more million or hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians and Russians. Okay, gotcha, Mr. Genius. Not so much.
Bill C-388 would help deliver weapons to Ukraine on an urgent basis and would expedite Canadian resource projects with the potential to displace Russian gas exports. Conservatives have also been pushing for the strengthening of Canada's armed forces. While democratic governments of all colors and political traditions around the world have seen the Ukraine war as a wake-up call on the need to invest in their militaries, Liberals here in Canada have remained soundly asleep when it comes to the urgency of increasing defense spending. Justin Trudeau wants people to listen to him around the world, but nobody is going to listen to you in the councils of the world if you fail to put your money where your mouth is. So, friends, today my thoughts are with the children and families in Ukraine affected by these horrible crimes, but also with my children and yours here in Canada.
Here comes the pity party, making it about him. The deception and the lies. He's apparently moving up the ranks of the actors, shall we say, getting emboldened with the prospect of having more power soon.
Facing down a growing myriad of threats from around the world, and even staring down an aggressive Russian regime across our northern border. These serious times require...
It's going to take me about 3 seconds to debunk a bunch of this. We don't really have a military left. We've got a couple of good soldiers left, and we've got a bunch of fairies and woke individuals that you probably cannot recognize. Our military has been neutered. We looked last night at some of the people that took part in said neutering, and good morning, Mr. Not So Genius, and finally recognizing and realizing that the guy that you're trying to wage war on and build munitions factories for is our northern neighbor. Congratulations, you've at least got that much of a grip on geography.
Serious leaders. We need a policy of peace through strength that both supports our allies and invests in our own security. If you agree with me, please share this video with your family and friends, and let's bring it home.
Oh, there it is. The catchphrase, the let's bring it home, right? That, my friends, is Mr. Garnet Genius. This is their attempt at joining the military-industrial complex and selling it to you on pseudo righteousness, self-righteousness, and Mr. Trudeau is going to go out this weekend and do his due diligence to gain the support and funding for more factories, more munitions, and more war in the Ukraine. Absolutely, old saucy. C-388 is disgusting. The there's so much lie and deception, and for them to use for Mr. Genius not so much to use this as a campaigning platform for his bill, unfortunately makes him come to the top of the list now. When I bring it, when we looked at, like, yesterday, who are the original traders to Canada under the Paris Agreement, understanding that the Paris Agreement is the foundation of the UNSDA and the 17 sustainability goals that they are jamming and ramming down our throat. Well, we looked at that here yesterday, and disturbing enough, there was a couple of names on there, like Mr. Michael Cooper, a few others you guys will probably recognize. But these are the guys that in 2017 sold us out. They already sold us out, right? And if you just keep scrolling on down here, oh, maybe I missed it. It's up here a little bit then. But either which way, Mr. Genius had successfully evaded my attention because he had apparently, to my peripheral knowledge, put up some fair to midland objection to the extermination of Canadians under the MAID program. He kind of did his part in acting there, but at the end of the day, he's signed on to the exact damn treasonous bills that all of them are signed on to. And as we also covered yesterday, Mr. Polyev knows that some of us know, and he's not got any plans of getting us out. So, to me, this is the biggest psyop in the country right now. This so-called opposition, everybody is rallying behind Pierre because he's using the right words, the right language, the right euphemisms, the right jargon, the right gobbledygook, the right inflated language. We're going to give him an overwhelming control of our government and our country. And meanwhile, we know that he's contractually obligated to the exact same thing that Trudeau is implementing. So I ask, what are we doing? What the hell are we doing? I don't want to be right about this. I wish that this was actually a solution, but at this point, I think that we're watching an entire population get psyoped by a false prophet. And it's now this year that we are going to have to hold his feet to the fire. We're absolutely going to have to hold his feet to the fire before we can do anything about this. And nobody is paying attention. I'm going to get so attacked from everybody except for the PPCers that want Max Bernier. Well, sorry, guys. Max is no cleaner than Pierre Poilievre or any of the rest of them. But it's no point in me exposing all of that because all you guys do is try and kill me for it. You don't want the truth, and neither do conservatives. Unfortunately, false hope before they get into office. And then we say, well, we just got to get rid of the other guy. We just got to get rid of the other guy. And we keep getting progressively worse guys and wonder why, because they deceive us. And Pierre is doing really good at deceiving Canadians that he's going to do anything other than fill out that UNSDA, the Sustainability Agreement. And meanwhile, we talk about it often about the rest of the world just being done with the psychopaths running our country through the rest of the world. They don't want anything to do with us. So you know what the end result of this is? We are playing right into Orwell's trap. You know, the three continents, Europa. Guys, Europa has been born. Let me break it to you officially today that Europa is actually a real thing, just like so many of the other things that we have heard that came straight out of Orwell that we got called and labeled and smashed for. Exactly these peace through strength, some of that gobbledygook euphemisms and jargon. We're now at the point where Europa is being born. And what do I mean? Well, there's another organization out there that I'm guessing the bulk of you may not be familiar with. It's called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now, this started a number of years ago, and I actually have to credit Pepe Escobar, who is there this week, and I follow Pepe's stuff. He's bang on point. He's been circling the globe for decades, talking about the reality and reading between the lines on things. So I watched this interview today. It was long, but I started to do some of my own research into it, and to understand what they were talking about. And the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and what it is and represents. It started in 2001. As the Shanghai Five, I think is what they called themselves when they first started. But the idea was at the time to counter espionage, terrorism, um, that kind of thing. Kind of the countermeasure to the Five Eyes that we have here. That was kind of the intent in 2001 when they set up this organization. But here we are in 2024, and they become a socioeconomic development through enhanced connectivity, mitigation, climate change challenges, all kinds of different stuff like this. But now they've got a whole bunch of new members, like a whole bunch of new members. There's not just 5 anymore. So I started scrolling through who these guys are. It's kind of interesting how they've gotten to the point here now where it's not a military organization, and although initially it was intended to counter some of our alphabet agency stuff, shall we say. But I came down to, this is where it got kind of interesting. I came down to this site, and I tried to look into it, but it wouldn't let me. I got a huge error order. I was going to show you guys this, but yeah, I was foreboding from checking out that site. But I was just kind of wanted to kind of compare notes on who this, get a feel for who this organization was, what they're doing, how. Oh, here's the one. When I started to look into that, I've been blocked. Apparently I'm tripping into places I'm not supposed to be tripping into. So to put it into context, what we're looking at here, folks, is an organization that literally, recognize this from Orwell's Eurasia, and from 1984. Eurasia is literally being born. These are the member countries, observer countries, dialogue partners, inactive observers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this isn't just those people. This is also, Erdogan. That's a NATO country. So literally, we've got a few bridge countries, shall we say, that are joining the Belt and Road Initiative oriented organization. Now, where was, I'm kind of running down here to the bottom where I want to show you guys this this headline here, because I wanted you guys to understand the significance of this. This summit that just happened yesterday, Erdogan was there, and a whole bunch of others, including everybody from the Eurasian continent. New members are joining by the day, and our Western media treated it like a non-event. But this new social economic alliance accounts for about 40% of the world's population and some of the greatest GDP on the planet right now. So the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a real thing. They're looking at what is happening on our side of this beautiful planet, and they don't want any part of the Reindeer Games alphabet soup cult mafia, globalist shenanigans and shit show. They are building a multimodal world, which means that they are seeking several different modes of activity and occurrence. Yeah, they're setting up things that work specifically for their countries, and not taking part in this treasonous shenanigan. So that is kind of a drink from the fire hose, guys. Not that I enjoy bursting anybody's bubble, but I see us being psyoped into making dangerous decisions because of the false information and psyops and lies and propaganda and abuse being perpetrated by both sides. both sides of our supposed elected representatives. When it comes to Mr. Genius, he's now got my attention. I have more looking to do on him. I would suspect he's probably an influential member of the Friends of Israel Private Members Association that has a constitution to look after Israel's needs while they're in Canadian Parliament. I think there's 106 of those guys. So we really have to start questioning, where do some of these people's allegiances lie? And when money is involved, and when the United Nations and World Economic Forum, Fourth Reich are involved, I don't think that bodes well, and I don't think any of these people need to be trusted. And I pray that we don't fall into the deeper well of, yeah, exactly, the donor class. This is why they must crush countries like Georgia that try to stamp out foreign influence through NGOs, nonprofits, and lobbyists, right? We wouldn't dare consider that. And thinking, we looked at that a couple of weeks ago, and there's 177,000 plus NGOs, lobbyists, and nonprofits in Canada, establishing themselves as public-private partnerships with the government and under the World Economic Forum and the Paris Agreements, UNSDA, Migration Compact, all of those things. All sides, guys. It's all part of the same charade. And I take no pleasure in exposing this, but I think if we don't have some of these conversations now in a peaceful manner, we're going to end up with both sides playing us right into things that we can no longer escape from. So, on that, the last thing that I've got for anybody tonight, or for everybody tonight, is I want to make sure that everybody remembers or knows. Oh, wrong one. This one's the one. Tomorrow, I'm super, super stoked and proud to have had a chance to get Jim Ferguson one-on-one from Freedom Train International. Jim is pretty much directly plugged into Nigel Farage and what is going on in Europe. We're kind of like kindred spirits in how we've gone back to the people in our respective countries. And we had a really, really amazing conversation. Because of logistics, we weren't able to bring him to you live. It was just too late where he is. So we recorded it. And tomorrow night, I will join you and chat with you guys while we get a chance to watch and listen to what Jim's doing over there in Europe and explain a whole lot of what's going on there. Crazy days, crazy times, but we've been able to find some of the best people to sort the news from the noise and the nonsense, and Jim is one of those amazing individuals, so we will hear from him tomorrow. So make sure, again, that you guys are subscribed. Double check that bell. Make sure that, smash it twice if you have to, and make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. We do this Monday to Friday. We are shattering delusions and false images daily, and I look forward to chatting with y'all again tomorrow. Love y'all. Stay fierce, stay mighty, my fellow friends, warriors, and patriots. And check out, I keep meaning to do this, tell me which day is better, Saturday or Sunday, to have an informal off the record discussion about some guys that are doing some really good work, part of one of the few sponsors worthy of sharing with this community, and I'll talk about that real soon. All right, I love you all. Stay Canadian.